We're all taught that the most comfortable, the most agreeable path is the best one, especially in business. But what if I told you that exact instinct is costing you your best people and maybe even your biggest opportunities? Today, we are diving into a really powerful and, kind of counterintuitive idea that a carefully managed sense of discomfort is the real engine behind progress and decision-making.
So let's just get right to it with a question that, might sting a little. Is your company's culture of being nice silently eating away at your bottom line? I know it's a confronting thought, but it really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today, the huge, hidden cost of just avoiding difficult conversations.
And here's the thing. This whole problem usually starts with the absolute best intentions, right? We want to spare people's feelings. But when that instinct isn't balanced with directness, it creates this paradox that Kim Scott calls ruinous empathy, a communication style that feels really kind in the moment, but is actually destructive in the long run.
And when you see it side by side like this, the contrast is just stark. On one side, ruinous empathy, well, it leads to all the things that absolutely kill momentum. Problems fester, growth just stalls out, resentment builds, and opportunities are just completely missed. But on the other side, the alternative, radical candor, it drives the exact outcomes every single leader wants: quick resolutions, higher performance, and deep, real trust.
So, what does this ruinous empathy actually look like in the wild? It's simple. It's when you genuinely care about your team on a personal level, but you completely fail to challenge them directly. You're basically choosing their immediate comfort over their long-term growth. And honestly, it's a well-intentioned mistake with some pretty disastrous consequences.
Okay, so why is this direct challenge, this discomfort, so critical? This brings us to the core psychological engine at play here. To get anyone, an employee, a client, even yourself, to really take action, they first have to feel the gap between where they are now and where they need to be. We call this the hole.
Now, this isn't just some business fad. It's rooted in deep human psychology. There's actually a clinical term for our natural instinct to run away from discomfort, and it's called experiential avoidance. It's our brain's default setting. We want to avoid difficult feelings, even when that avoidance ends up creating much bigger problems down the road, like a project going completely off the rails because nobody was willing to speak up and say something uncomfortable.
And this is not just theory, it's a core technique that top professionals use every single day. This quote, it actually comes from financial planning, but it's universal. Think about it. Doctors, therapists, elite coaches, they don't start by giving you solutions. They start by carefully, intentionally highlighting that discrepancy, that hole, because they know it's the only reliable source of real internal motivation.
So you see, real motivation, it's not some fluffy pep talk. It's a predictable, four-step process. First, you have to acknowledge the current reality. Second, and listen, this is the most important part, you have to let the discomfort of that reality sink in. You have to feel it. Only then does genuine motivation start to bubble up, and that leads to commitment. You absolutely cannot skip step 2.
All right, let's start talking about the solution and see how all this builds. If we know we need to create this productive discomfort, how do we actually do it effectively and ethically? Well, the strategic framework, you can think of it as the operating system, is called radical candor. It's a model for communication that perfectly balances caring personally with challenging directly.
This simple little matrix right here is the key to understanding the whole model. You've got two axes, care personally on one and challenge directly on the other. We've already talked about the danger zone in that top left quadrant, ruinous empathy, but look, the bottom two are just as bad. You've got obnoxious aggression, that's just being a jerk, and manipulative insincerity, which is just office politics. The goal, the place you always want to be, is in that top right, radical candor.
So if radical candor is the what, it's our goal, then motivational interviewing, or MI, is the how. It gives you the specific, evidence-based communication tools to actually challenge someone directly while still showing them that you care. It's how you generate momentum instead of defensiveness.
Now, the biggest mistake most leaders make is falling for what MI calls the righting reflex. It's that gut instinct to jump in and fix the problem, to tell someone what to do, to argue for change. And as you can see on the left, that always increases resistance. The right move, the smart move, is to roll with that resistance. You get curious. You ask questions like, "Tell me more." You guide them to make the argument for change themselves. This image just captures that shift in mindset perfectly. Our first instinct is to just push against that closed door with all our might. But the effective technique is to walk around to their side of the door, understand why it's closed in the first place, and help them find their own reason to open it. It's a complete reframing from persuading to empowering.
Okay, but let's be real. Let's address the executive in the room. Highlighting a big problem and creating discomfort, I mean, that sounds risky, right? What if it just creates fear or panic or total paralysis? This is where we manage that risk. We need a clear formula to make sure that discomfort leads to action, not anxiety.
And for this, we turn to communication science and something called the Extended Parallel Process Model, or EPPM. Now, this is a predictive model that explains exactly how people respond to high-stakes, scary messages, and it tells us something absolutely crucial. Fear, all by itself, is not a motivator. In fact, without a clear path forward, it's a demotivator. And this chart is the whole game. Just look at that top row. When the threat is high, but the person's belief in their ability to fix it, their efficacy, is low, they don't solve the problem. They go into fear control mode. They just try to manage their fear, and usually that means avoiding the issue completely. The magic combination, the one that leads to danger control, which is just a fancy term for taking action, is high threat paired with high efficacy. You must always present the problem and the path to a solution together.
So, let's bring this all together. Here are your key strategic takeaways. First, make it a priority to hunt down and challenge ruinous empathy wherever you see it. Second, understand that real motivation comes from helping people see and feel the whole. And third, and this is the big one, never ever present a serious threat without also providing a clear, credible path forward. You do that and the payoff is huge. An organization that moves faster, performs better, and is just fundamentally more resilient.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Think about your last stalled project or that underperforming team. Where is that comfortable, easy habit of ruinous empathy creating a critical blind spot for you? Because finding the answer to that, well, that could be your next big breakthrough. That's all for this explainer.